Alright y'all, thank you for your patience. Just want to take a moment and point out we've hit that $1,000 threshold. Only 200 left to go for us to hit our goal for this marathon. All benefits go to American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. !donate chat if you want that link. And now without any further ado, I'm bringing you Fuzzy Games with Lightfall. Enjoy.
Super focused on the run. So. Okay, looks like we're live. Hello and welcome. My name is Fuzzy Games. I am a variety speedrunner and I like to run a lot of platformers. Here's a nice little platformer called Lightfall that we're going to start in 3, 2, 1, go. So Lightfall is a indie platformer that came out in 2018. And it is the main gimmick of this platformer are these blocks that you see I place here. They allow me to kind of freestyle how I want to route through the level a little bit. And we're going to use them a lot. You're also going to see that I grabbed this yellow shard here. These are one of the collectibles in the game. They're called paddlewood shards. And paddlewood shards are what unlock the DLC levels. So today we're going to do an all levels run, and in order to do all levels I have to collect all of the shards. So we're going to be completing the normal 80% completion of the game, including grabbing these shards for the DLC levels, and then we'll also do the DLC levels. So we're just gonna bounce on through here. You'll be able to see also coming up, I believe in this next level, we'll be able to show off that we have a few different types of blocks that we can use. Right now I'm just kind of showing the double jump block, as I like to call it. It's the block that you can summon underneath you, and that allows you to just run through the level kind of willy-nilly. You can also spawn them as soon as you load into a level, and that saves a little bit of time versus falling. Just a minor thing there. So we're just going to go ahead and use that to make our way on through here. I will also say, while we have a little bit of a lull in the action, I will say this game goes on sale a decent amount of the time on Steam, so I highly recommend you picking it up if you like a nice, cozy platformer. There are a lot of folks that wouldn't necessarily call themselves platformer enthusiasts, but they have greatly enjoyed this game before. So you'll see there's a block I can place in front of me as well. Normally I can use that for wall jumps, which we will later on. But one nice thing about it with the lasers is we end up getting to block out the lasers a little bit so that they don't kill us. And we're going to do that again with a double jump block here. There we go. And usually when I go to grab those shards, I try to make sure that I have the X button held down so that I can buffer the animation to pick up those yellow shards. I'll try to point it out next time we're at a checkpoint, but each checkpoint in the game shows how many yellow shards I need. So that's pretty handy. We're going to go up for a block above my head, and we're out of the level. So I have a block that I can place under me, a block that I can place in front of me that I can wall jump off of, and a block that I can place above my head. And you wouldn't have been able to tell from how I used it there, but the block I place above my head, I can actually move around, just kind of freestyling it a little bit. But the fastest way to complete that section where we used it is to just go ahead and place it exactly where we need it instead of moving it where we need it. It's much faster. Here we're going to take advantage of the block in front of us to just fall right down. There's another shard. And yeah, we're just trucking on through. This is the final level in Act 1. So we are going to be facing a boss. And as you can see, the swordfish are super friendly. We definitely try to watch out for them. But sometimes they like to get you. So yeah, you can see on the checkpoint there are 2 yellow spots where the shards fit into. And we've already gotten the 2 shards here, so we can just kind of complete the level as normal. You won't be able to tell here. There are water pillars that come up and try to hit you, but we actually just get through that section fast enough to where we don't have to deal with them. And one of the things I like about Lightfall is the boss fights. After their first patch, the boss fights have turned into largely just boss fights that are more platforming challenges than they are, 1v1 boss fights, which is really cool and thematically consistent with the rest of the game. There you saw we did a checkpoint reset. What we're doing is we're actually manipulating this wave to be in front of us. I actually need to reset here. We're manipulating the wave to be in front of us so that we don't have to wait on it while we go through here. And we're going to try to just stay ahead of it and hopefully succeed. But if not, we can let it get in front of us again, and that's okay. But obviously, if we touch the wave, we die. If we land in the water, we die. We don't want to do any of that. We just want to finish out the level. And we're on to Act 2. So each act kind of has its own color theme and different types of enemies and things like that. If you play through the story, it will kind of just be a progression through different areas. And it kind of teaches you the history about why you are the hero that you are in this case. And how you got your powers and that type of thing. It's been a while since I played the story, so unfortunately I can't spoil any of that for you. You will have to play the game for yourself. So we're going to trigger that door. It takes a minute to open, so we can just go over there, get it to open, and then we can run back and grab this shard. There's some platforms here that are going to raise up. We can reset off of them if we want, but we just decided to skip. And so lots of checkpoints in between, which are really handy. If we die, we get sent back to a checkpoint. So we definitely want to try to pick up as many of those as we can. And fun fact about this hidden passage up here, which you'd probably miss on a casual playthrough if you didn't see me getting it just now. This hidden passage is also taken in any %, which doesn't have to get that paddlewood shard. It's just faster to take that passage even if you don't get the shard. And here the game expects you to hold out a block and ride the platform up, but if we just hold down the button that puts the block behind us or in front of us, we can turn around and then just climb up the wall normally. You have to be a little careful there though, because one of the features, and I use feature lovingly, one of the features in Lightfall is if you have a block out and you go to summon another block, what it'll do is it'll cancel the first block and bring out the block that you're trying to summon, which sounds great, nice and responsive. Except if you're climbing a wall with a block and trying to not get hit by lasers, then it's really, really inconvenient. So we have to be careful climbing that wall. We can't do our jumps too quickly, or we'll end up canceling the block that's blocking the laser with a block that does not block the laser and gets us killed. These big bees don't have collisions, but we punch them anyways because we don't like them. Bees are the worst enemy in the game. And we're going to respect these laser cycles a little bit. They're a little lethal. No. Tried. one more time. Alright. And we're gonna pop this back at the checkpoint just in case anything unmentionable happens and we happen to die with it. We don't want that to happen. We do need to collect all of these shards. And collecting them means bringing them back to the checkpoint. So one of the other mechanics here is the slime that you see on the ground. In most other levels, we would just go ahead and wall jump up the wall there, but the slime is not something that we can wall jump off of. So we have to, unfortunately, use our blocks to get up there to get through. And here it is shown in an even larger form. We have to very carefully ladder up here. We're going to hold down X to immediately grab that, since we can buffer those grabs, and we're out. One shard down, one shard to go. Okay. So we got one more set of bees coming up. We are going to grab this shard up here as well. And then we will be on to the last level of Act 2. The levels go by pretty quick. I think the only act that has more than 3 levels in it is the final act, Act 4. And that's just because the 4th level is obviously the last level in the game, and it's the final boss. And it's pretty sweet. I'll try to show off a little bit more of that as I can. It's very easy for us to get ahead of him, but hopefully we'll be able to show off a little bit of what that fight is about. So yeah. One of the other things that I'll mention as well, there are definitely going to be times where you'll just see me running, like I am now. And there will be times where you'll see me use blocks at places that seem a little sporadic. There is some reasoning behind it. Specifically, the movement mechanics in Lightfall make it so that when you're running on a straight line, you're at your top movement speed. But if you're running on a slope, you run slower. So a lot of times you'll see me run along straight parts, but then I'll end up placing blocks along slanted parts. Also, we got a fast cycle there, so that's kind of nice. Also, I believe that running on the slime is also slower, so we're going to try to avoid that as well. Alright. So we're going to respect that guy a little bit. He likes to shoot us in the face sometimes. It's not the greatest. So there you can see I can move the block up here, just freestyling it. I can also go up for a jump, but it's nice to show that off. I have very few places in the run where I actually do that. I think that's how the devs intended it, but we typically just place them exactly where we want because it goes a little faster. Here, the checkpoint extends so far down that we can actually just checkpoint reset here. And it's significant because even though this run is going to be timed to RTA, all of the runs on the leaderboard are timed with in-game time. And the timer stops when the game is paused. So when you go to reset from the checkpoint, it loses no time and you just kind of move up the screen a little bit faster, which is really nice. So we're just going to go ahead and use our movable blocks to put a block in his open mouth there, which will trigger him to go ahead and close it and let us on through, which is really helpful. This part is a little scary. So we're gonna place a block here. I guess I never mentioned also, you get 4 blocks before you have to reset. So there are a lot of times where you'll see me just kind of like use 3 and then just go ahead and fall down somewhere. Here's a great example. I try to get to where I can just run off here and get a reset, and it's very convenient. So that's why I'm not just placing blocks like crazy, is there is a limit to the number of blocks that you can use. And this boss fight emphasizes that quite a bit. There are a lot of times where it's very easy to get close to running out of blocks or to even run out of blocks. And it can be a little terrifying at times. But we are going to take advantage of the fact that this platform still has a solid enough slope there where we can land and reset our blocks a little bit. So we can get to safety, no problem, before the giant face guy over there eats the platform. And this is kind of an auto-scroller boss. You saw that I jumped over and punched a crystal that was in the wall. We have to wait about 20 to 30 seconds for crystals to show up in the wall for us to punch, which means hanging out on these platforms to wait for it. There are some times where the platforms will spawn spikes. That was perfect timing. I was about to cover that. So you'll see there are spikes on the platforms. We have to watch out for those. If we die, we will get sent back to the beginning of this fight. We really don't want that. The slime boys, we don't have to worry as much about. They're more annoying than anything. Which obviously, now that I said that, I'm obviously going to die to one. But we try not to curse ourselves too much. Got to be a little careful around those spikes. There we go. And we're through. This is Act 3. This is my favorite act. Visually, this act is stunning. I love it. The music is very calm as well. There's nothing, it's not like phenomenal music, but it's all very just chill. And I think that's kind of the vibe that I associate with Lightfall, is that it's just a very chill platformer. Like, there is some precision involved, and as you can see in this room, it's very easy to die in some cases. All of these pink vines will kill me, so I have to be very careful here. But all in all, it is just a very chill platforming experience compared to something like a Celeste or a Meat Boy or something. Tends to be very, very calm. And checkpoints are usually common enough to where you don't really have to worry about taking unexpected deaths too much. There's a lot of close quarters, so a lot of tight movement at points. If you're trying to go fast, if you're playing casually, then you don't really have to worry about it. There are much safer ways to do that, to do a lot of these sections. This is a little bit of a tunnel maze, but that pattern is always the same, so once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. And here, the game expects you to hit these crumble walls and knock those down so that you can get through to the shard there. But what we're going to do is we're actually just going to jump underneath them. And we'll respect this guy a little bit. He was being a little friendly. But yeah, we're just going to jump underneath them. We're going to leave the walls alone. And you'll see a little bit later on, those crumble walls have a few different properties that we take advantage of a little bit later. Specifically, I'll get to show them off a little more in the DLC levels. But we are just going to make our way through here, taking yet another shard up here. Here we are going to hit that checkpoint jumping over it, and we go for a cycle skip over the top there, which went just fine. And then normally you would hit those blue crystals casually to flip over the platform, but it's much easier to just ignore it, so we just ignore it. There we go. And it is worth noting that those blue crystals, which are meant to be platform flipping switches, they actually are solid platforms as well. So you can just land on them and get your blocks reset. Since landing on any solid platform will reset the number of blocks that you can use back to 4. So we're going to take advantage of that right up here. And we got our blocks back. We're going to go down here for yet another shard. And we got to get rid of all these barriers. We're going to try to hit both of these in one. Almost. There we go. We buffered our X once again to grab that instantly. And we'll make our way back out of this very small platforming maze. That spot is a little crazy to get out of. Okay. So we're gonna reset off of this again. And then we've got a shard coming up here, and this is the same path that any percent takes as well, because after we get this shard, it doesn't come over here, but after we get this shard, there is an out of bounds that we're gonna take advantage of. And thankfully, this category also benefits from it. 100% would not, because there is a collectible down to the bottom right, but these two categories definitely will. So we're gonna pop up here, and we're gonna climb into the trees here. And there's a walkway here where you can't really see where you're going, you just kind of have to know what the layout of things is. But we're gonna just hop along here. There are some spikes that we want to watch out for that we can't see, and we just skipped an entire climbing section. Now, it's worth noting that it's not technically an out of bounds in the traditional sense, because typically whenever you do an out of bounds, you're clipping outside of a wall or a barrier of some kind, and that's allowing you to escape the level. This one was only an out of bounds in the sense that you can't see what you're doing, so it's out of your visual bounds, but we don't clip through any walls or anything. There are just platforms there that you can't see. On this platform, we're going to go for a checkpoint reset as well. This checkpoint reset is going to set us up for a nice set of platform cycles here. So we're going to come over here, and platforms are going to start appearing. And we kind of want to make sure that we come along them so that we can get some nice resets. And we're going to go ahead and reset here because we got to grab this shard up here. And buffer that to grab. And you might be sitting here and saying, wow, this level looks pretty intense. Well, it is. Not only is this the final level in Act 3, it is also one of the hardest levels in the base game, and this level is called Sylveon, just like the Pokemon. So, what's special about this level, as you probably just saw there from me dropping off a crystal, is I have to collect 5 different crystals from 5 different chambers. And so, we're gonna... The second chamber is a little risky, that's why we brought the crystal back. Just for marathon safety. Those lasers, much as you might imagine, will definitely kill us. They will kill us very much, and we're going to try to avoid that. But we need to get 5 different crystals to get out of Sylveon. So we are going to go grab those now. Also, I'm going to throw out a warning a little bit early. One of the chambers in Sylveon has a lot of flashing lights, so if that is something that you can't watch, if you have any epilepsy concerns or anything of the sort, I would advise you to just not watch this part, because I will inevitably forget to remind you right when it comes up. But I will go ahead and drop a reminder when we get to the end of the level, and then you'll be able to watch again, because I care about your safety. I don't know if it's ever been brought up to the devs that putting an epilepsy level in the game was a bad idea, but, you know, it's probably one of those things that goes without saying. So, we're going to go up here along these sparkly areas here. You may or may not be able to see it, but there are some sparkles in the sky here, and if we place a block into them, they create solid platforms. And so we use that to be able to reset and climb even more. and that lets us scale all the way up there. Here's the flashy part. I warned you about it. I do apologize. It's destroying my eyes just as much as it's destroying yours. There is also a shard right over there on the right. We're going to grab that momentarily. We're just going to get this crystal first. That was weird. Is that where I get to say that's never happened before? I apparently got the camera to pan without me. That's new. Okay. Well, let's fall back through. We got our shard. That's the important part. Let's go ahead and pop over here. This is a riddle where you have to match up the messages with the animal symbols, and it will show different messages. This used to be completely RNG, and it's still RNG in the story mode. But one of the nice things that the developers did was they made it not RNG. They made it fixed for the speedrun mode. So we just know that that pattern is always 2, 5, 1, 3, 4. We got a little bit of a zip there. It's a little faster to just kind of squeeze through the blocks there. And as I have not previously mentioned, Act 4 is the final act in the game. This act will have 4 levels, and they're all kind of intense, but we should be just fine. But one of the things that these levels introduce, and that we'll see plenty more of, are these orbs. These orbs are terrifying. We have to respect them a little bit too, because they will definitely kill us a lot, much like the lasers. So we're going to take a hidden passage here, and that gives us a chance to drop off the thing at the checkpoint. And then we have another little hidden away spot here, where we're going to grab another shard. We're going to avoid dropping that platform to fall through another hidden passage. And that's going to allow us to just go ahead and kind of re-land back in the main part of the level. So nice little sequence there to just grab a shard. Normally in 80% you wouldn't go that way, you would go to the right. But we have to go that way to get the shard. Normally there's a trick here where you can fly off that wall and get a fast cycle there, pick up some momentum, but we can't do that because we're on the wrong cycle because we picked up a few shards. But we did take advantage of a shortcut there. There's a lot to talk about in 4.1. 4.1 is probably one of the most fun levels in the game to actually grind ILs for, and there's a lot going on there. So I do apologize that I can't cover all of it as quickly as I go through it. But we got to see a couple of examples of just crazy shortcuts that we get to take, and using the block to block lasers and all that kind of stuff. So good stuff. So here is the first instance of the fog. And the fog in the game prevents us from using all of our block abilities. So we don't like the fog. It sucks. But unfortunately, we have to deal with it in some cases. Here we do, but we can step away, and we can use our punch to get rid of the birds. There's a bird here. We're going to grab this shard. There's a bird that comes back over here. We're going to hop over him. All right, we're going to respect that orb a little bit, but there is another hidden passage here. There's no other point to this hidden passage other than that it's just faster. So we like those. We got a good cycle here. Suddenly sharks, because obviously the game needed sharks. We're going to grab the final shard here. Also, it is worth noting, I'm fairly certain that's the only level that has sharks. They just show up at the end of the level because why not? They don't even have frickin' lasers on their heads. God. Okay, so this is core. This is the other hard level. So I mentioned before that Sylveon is a difficult level. Core is another difficult level. It doesn't have 5 chambers like Sylveon, but it has 3, and they're fairly long. This one is a humongous climbing section, and there's another big climbing section coming up. So lots of very fun, very technical movement. We're just going to go ahead and skip all of those radars. Those radars have, if they interact with you, they create a area of effect that has the same effect as the fog. So it shuts off your powers a little bit, and we want to avoid that. I'm really glad I made it through that, because that was a little risky. We're actually going to give this a moment, because it's better to jump through here when it's small. Just a nice little hop there. And this part's a little terrifying, because we have to fall down through a bunch of orbs that are expanding. But thankfully we got through. We're gonna just kind of worm our way through here with some fairly tight platforming around a few orbs that can definitely kill us. And any percent would normally save time there by resetting from checkpoint, which will allow the animation to play while you're getting reset to the main checkpoint, which saves time. Unfortunately, in this category, if we were to do that, we would lose the paddlewood shard that we grabbed, and that would kind of invalidate the run. So we don't want to do that, understandably. This part just has some cozy running over acid with no platforms, and then a giant fog section. And this is a giant vertical section where we can't use any blocks, which is kind of terrifying. So we're going to try to be pretty precise here about some of our jumps, but we basically just have to wall jump up here. We're going to do a nice little skip there where we don't have to jump off of any other blocks. And yeah. And that is the third crystal in Core. So Celestial Palace is the final level in the base game. And it's worth noting that this was not the original final level for the game. When the game first came out, the final level was only a final boss fight. And the final boss was completely RNG. As you can imagine, the speedrunning community for the game was not super pleased that the run averaging around 30 minutes could end in a boss fight that basically you could either save 3 to 5 minutes or lose 3 to 5 minutes. It was a great way to lose a lot of runs at the very end of the run. So the developers listened to that feedback and decided to make this level, which is way better. It is just basically an auto-scroller of sorts, but we force it to scroll faster here. And behind us is the boss, the same old boss. He just doesn't have the same powers that he used to. But instead, he is just a giant wrecking ball. And he's trying to kill us by chasing after us. We barely got to see him. He finally catches up to us. And when we punch him in the face, that is the end of the base levels. So now we go on to the DLC levels. So this is what we needed all the shards for. The DLC levels are 4 levels that came out sometime after the game came out, and they're all significantly more difficult levels. So if you see a lot of deaths here, don't be surprised. These levels are hard as heck. So we're gonna do our best to show these off and hopefully be halfway decent at them. But once again, reiterating, they are hard, very difficult. Lots of spikes, lots of... this one has the falling ceiling, which is very unnerving. And then all of these spinning spikes through here, they're all just terrifying. But we made it through. And each of the DLC levels takes after the act that comes in that sequence. So the first DLC level was inspired by Act 1. Second DLC level is inspired by Act 2. Obviously, you got a bunch of slime. And then Act 3, or DLC levels 3 and 4 are also inspired by Act 3 and 4, respectively. One of the things you might notice about the DLC levels as well is that the checkpoints are a little more spread out, which makes them pretty lethal levels. They're very unforgiving if you make mistakes. So you will see me take some safety precautions here to hopefully. Oh no, I tried. You'll see me take some safety precautions here to try to mitigate some of the difficulty of getting between each of the checkpoints. But you can see the danger of running out of blocks, and I tried to lessen that as much as I can, but sometimes you just can't really do much about it. But thankfully there are a bunch of platforms here. I can just kind of reset my blocks as I go. And we'll just keep doing that. We're going to respect these a little bit just because they are swinging death blades and we're not a fan. So. Oh, no. I tried again. Heck. So we gotta respect the cycles here. Sometimes the platforms will just close and prevent us from going through. We don't feel like hugging the spikes. Not this time. So we will take it a little easy. Nope, I need this reset. There we go. I need this reset as well. Okay, so this part's a little harrowing. There we go. I'm gonna need another one though. There we go. Alright, we're through. That is objectively one of the hardest ones. I even said, prepping for the run today, I said that the second DLC level was probably going to be the toughest one. And it did not disappoint. This one looks a lot more frightening, but it's typically much easier to handle. You just kind of got to get used to playing it a little safe here. Lots of spinning death blades. Gotta respect the spinning death blades. This is a fairly tricky set of very tight corridors where we have to get through and hopefully not get hit by spinning death spikes. So we're going to try to avoid those as much as we can. Much like you should in real life, please avoid spinning death spikes. And this is another one of those cases where we're enjoying how few checkpoints there are. All of this is extremely dangerous. But we just we take advantage of the fact that those switches, once again, have hitboxes or solid planes on top of them that allow us to refresh our blocks here. And as you can tell, we got to be very, very careful about our jumps. If we just kind of run forward and jump, the collision on those spikes is pretty dangerous. So lots of very tight hops. This is very narrow, which is not my favorite. It's all very narrow, but we're good. We got through. And then we're on to the final one. So you might look at this one and say, wow, this looks just like core. And it kind of is, but they added lava, which, you know, that's great. And there are a lot more of these glowing block barriers. The nice thing about them, though, is before they fade, we can actually stand on top of them and reset our blocks a little bit. So we take advantage of that a lot. And this is also the level where I get to show one of the nice benefits of the crumble walls as well. So we're going to respect this a little bit. We need a reset there. There we go. We don't care about that radar because we're just going to jump through here. We got to be careful to preserve some blocks to go up here, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get up there. So you can also punch those orbs. Unfortunately, our block placement was too strong. We got stuck in the wall. And that's not a terrible spot to take a death, because the checkpoint is obviously right there. So this part might look a little tricky, and it is, but it gets worse. So you have to fall down through here, but then you have to fall down through an area that has fog, so you can't actually use your blocks to safely fall anywhere. You just have to fall correctly. So we spent a lot of time practicing that one. And we got the checkpoint for safety. Here, we're going to jump on top of the crumble walls. They also have a solid plane there, so we can reset our jumps off of those crumble walls. And the nice thing about that is that we can just completely ignore these blocks that have spinning spikes here. We don't really care about them. We can just reset off of that and keep going. So with the combo of the crumble walls and the fading blocks there, we can just kind of get all of the resets that we need for our block placement. Here's a giant section that requires you to jump through the fog. So obviously we can't jump to that block yet. It had a bunch of spikes up, ready to say hi to us, and we were not about that. So this final section is very harrowing. It requires you to do a lot of... Ooh, yeah, I shouldn't have gone for that. It requires you to do a lot of very floaty, tricky jumps, sometimes onto very small platforms, through a lot of giant glowing orbs. And that can often result in your death. Can't do anything about these spike blocks either, so... So we're going to make our way through here very safely. I'm actually going to wait for those spikes to move so that I can... Whoa! Didn't expect to land up there. This is quite possibly the hardest part, though. So I'm okay with taking a couple deaths here. We were actually on really good pace leading up to this, so... we can still get around a 40-minute IGTE time, which is still really good. But we got to respect this part, unfortunately. We don't have a choice because we are powerless for these sections. But we're at the very end here. Just a few more orbs to avoid, and this will be time. And that was the all levels run for Lightfall. Again, if you're interested in playing Lightfall casually, check it out on Steam. It goes on sale a decent amount of the time. If you are interested in running this game, go check out on speedrun.com. The Lightfall Discord is linked there, so definitely hop in there. Ask any questions you want. Myself and others that are in there are more than happy to help out with getting started or any questions that you might have about it. And yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed the run. And definitely, before I forget, do not forget to support this great cause. It's really important, and if you can help it out, please do. And that's my final bit. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you for donating that run, Fuzzy Games. Wasn't that a hoot and a holler? The game's a beautiful one. Looks infuriating. I don't have that type of precision to play it, but it does look like a fun one. Next up, we have MK Cocoon, of course, bringing us... Hold on one second, sorry y'all. MK Cocoon bringing us Smash Brothers Brawl. We're going to have a couple of commentators because he's having trouble with the microphone. So I'll go ahead and get that cropped up. Enjoy the music. We'll be right back.